You'll find many damage phase scenarios where a few members of your fire team either A, aren't doing anywhere near enough damage, or B, don't use their supers. This Warlock build is about to fix all of that with an exceptional endgame DPS setup any player can use to dish out huge damage. When we talk about DPS, especially this season, we look at things like the ever popular Taipan linear fusion rifle, and for a good reason. Not only is it free, it'll outpace nearly every other option in Destiny 2, and then with Divinity available to make landing your shots even easier, it really doesn't get any better. So why is it that there's a little gem going completely under the radar which can and will knock everything out of the park, hitting for a whopping 126,000 damage per second? Even the most optimal Taipan user won't get anywhere near that, so what's the secret? Well, the secret is Ager's Scepter, and I'd highly expect to see this find its way into day 1 raid and dungeon races in the near future, especially where DPS checks are the main pain point in putting a stopper on any team's path to glory. And it's not that it replaces the current DPS options, it's mainly that it's the perfect complement to what's already set in place. So now, as well as having a div bitch, you can now have an Agers bitch or even 2, because even for the longest of DPS phases, you generally only need one person to run a well of radiance at the most. Ager's Scepter is the exotic Stasis trace rifle from Season of the Lost, and it has a ton going for it. First off, it's easily accessible to every player from the Monument of Lost Lights kiosk in the tower for a nominal fee of glimmer, planetary materials and an exotic cipher. It's probably one of the best feeling trace rifles out there too, and it's a beast in all levels of content thanks to its freezing burst and auto-loading nature on final blows with it. But it's the catalyst where it really shines, as it grants the Will Given Form exotic perk. This allows you to consume your super energy when full, overflowing the magazine and boosting its damage output by about 80%. Will Given Form lasts for about 12 seconds until you're out of ammo or until you store the weapon. This boosted laser beam will both slow and freeze targets on impact, granting additional shatter damage about every second, and it's this at a base level that'll get you knocking about 62,000 for DPS. Now there's a few tricks that you can do to maintain that high damage output, because if you just use the full overflowed magazine, you'll be left with about a quarter of your super, clearly wasting more damage potential. Rieger's Refrain will grant ammo to your magazine on final blows, and defeating frozen targets will also grant super energy with the Whisper of Bonds equipped. Neither of these are ideal for DPS scenarios, but are definitely not to be forgotten about when it comes to clearing a room of enemies, especially on champions. Transversive steps, however, are ideal for DPS, as sprinting for just 1 second will auto reload Ager's Scepter without resetting the Will Given Form perk, and it can be done multiple times, making them ideal to get every last drop out of it. Now, how exactly do you get such insane DPS? Well, it's actually rather simple to be honest, and really doesn't need anything fancy to set it up. At a base level, Agers hits for 2029 damage on a boss, and with Will Given Form active it bumps up to an average of 3743 given the alternating base and freezing damage it offers. This can easily be boosted by a further 25% to 4,600 using the Font of Might, and the best way to activate this consistently for yourself is through the combination of Glacier Harvest, the Whisper of Conduction and Elemental Shards. This allows you to create stasis shards on freezing any target, which can be done not only by your Scepter but also your Penumbral Blast melee, Cold Snap grenades and even the Frost Pulse aspect. All of these will track to you and give you a stasis weapon damage boost, which you can extend using Elemental Time Dilation and another copy of the Font of Might to get 16 seconds of bonus damage. This combo is ideal for any damage scenario, especially in the mobile nature of damage phases we've seen recently. Plus, if you chuck in the Whisper of Hedrons, you'll instantly boost your recovery and resilience by 60 stat points, massively increasing your survivability. Then if you add a Fireteam debuff like Tether or Divinity into the mix, as well as your standard Well of Radiance, this will get you the magic and absurd 126,000 damage per second. Now if you combine this with a Reedriget to follow up once you've finished off with Ager's Scepter, you can bump up your total damage even further. The Destiny Item Manager build link is in the description, and that's it. You're now an endgame DPS Grandmaster champion, so you can basically just uninstall Destiny 2 now until the next season.